At the time of making this video, Tony Khan is hyping up a big surprise that he's been working on for a while, and naturally, this has got fans speculating. Many people are hoping that this surprise will be an AEW and New Japan Super-Show, similar to the G1 Supercard hosted at Madison Square Garden between New Japan and Ring of Honor. Now, there is nothing that actually suggests that this will be the case, but it did get me thinking, what would an AEW and New Japan Super-Show actually look like? So, I figured I'd just have to go and fantasy book one myself. A quick disclaimer, I have no idea when this event could possibly take place, so for the sake of this video I will say it comes between Double or Nothing and All Out in place of Fyter Fest. In this video I'll go over 10 matches in order, making what I would personally like to see as the card for the very first ever AEW and New Japan Super-Show. And because I'm building a semi-realistic card, I have included things like multi-man tag matches. I'm leaving plenty of dream matches on the table to explore in the future, so if you think I've missed a match, that'll be why. But make sure to let me know which dream matches you would like to see down in the comments or over on Twitter. But without further ado, I'm Gareth from Eno Wrestling, and this is how I would book a potential AEW and New Japan Super Show. To open the show, we have the unsung hero from both companies. Two men who hardcore fans clamour to be world champion. Two men who are the heart and soul of the company on a show-to-show basis. Eddie Kingston versus Tomohiro Ishii for the Never Openweight Championship. This is the kind of match that doesn't need a lot of build. Simply have Eddie speak about how he respects the Japanese style and how he wants to fight Ishii on an episode of Dynamite, or even on Strong. Ishii can then come out and go face to face with Eddie. From there, the match is set. Both men are adored and respected, and opening the show in a 15-minute war would be perfect. A great way to showcase what New Japan Pro Wrestling is all about in a match that Tomohiro Ishii would win. As much as fans always want Eddie to win matches, the truth is he can eat losses and not allow it to hurt him. And as much as Eddie deserves a win on a big stage like this, so does Ishii. If you thought this would be AEW simply working with New Japan, you'd be wrong. Stardom should be involved also, as they were at the G1 Supercard and have been at previous Wrestle Kingdoms, to give AEW's women's division some competition. My idea with this match is to pit 3 of AEW's Joshi wrestlers against 3 of the best Stardom have to offer. Now, I don't actually watch Stardom, but I have consulted friends who do, and I am told that this team does make sense given what Stardom have done at previous Wrestle Kingdom events. Kairi Hojo, Sayuri and Julia are 3 of Stardom's biggest stars. I've been told many times that Julia would have huge crossover potential with an American audience, and of course Kairi is well known to American fans also. This match would be a great way to showcase what Stardom is all about to a new audience, and that is why I would have Kairi pick up the win for the Stardom team. I feel like I should preface this by saying that I am not the biggest Will Ospreay fan, and as much as this is fantasy booking, I am trying to keep it realistic, and realistically, Will Ospreay would likely be on this card whether you like it or not. So, with that in mind, I've gone for a match which I think would suit this show well, and that's by letting Ospreay do what he does best. Putting on a really fun match that doesn't require too much depth or storytelling. I think the dynamic of Keith Lee, a guy who is so easy to love, going up against Will Ospreay, a guy playing one of the most obnoxious heels in wrestling right now, is perfect. The fans would be super behind Lee whilst booing every move that Ospreay makes. Not to mention that both these men can do ridiculously athletic spots which would just light up the crowd with pop after pop. But also, Will Ospreay, with his added muscle, could believably challenge Keith Lee physically. For the sake of my fantasy booking, I've put the TNT Championship on the line. In my dream scenario, Keith Lee is the next champ, and I would have him retain it here. A feel-good win for Big Keith after a terrible year that he had in 2021. Fantasy booking an entire casino battle royale would take too long for the time I have in this video, but if you hit the top link in the description, it will take you to my Twitter where I've done a fantasy booking thread for this potential match. But I'll break it down in short for you here now. The winner of this match will get a title shot of their choice, either challenging for the AEW Championship or for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. I have thought of a few spots which I think would be awesome. Daniel Garcia coming face to face with one of his idols, Minoru Suzuki. Wardlow and Jeff Cobb slapping each other's meat. Kenta hitting CM Punk with a GTS. Hook absolutely murdering Yoshihashi. And of course, I think it'd be a missed opportunity not to have Hiroshi Tanahashi come face to face with Sting. What a moment that would be. And that's all before we get to the final two, MJF and Hiroshi Tanahashi. The eternal babyface against the biggest heel in wrestling. MJF would have a few spots where it looked like he was about to win before Tanahashi holds on and eliminates MJF. The Ace would then take on AEW World Champion Hangman Adam Page on a special episode of AEW Dynamite. And also, MJF's loss in the Casino Battle Royale would inform him taking it to the next level. Instead of earning a number one contender spot, MJF instead starts targeting those close to Hangman to force the world champion to give him a match at All Out. Bryan Danielson vs Zack Sabre Jr. has been a dream match for fans since ZSJ properly burst onto the big stage. The two men did meet in matches in 2008 and in 2009, but since they hit the peak of their powers in the last decade, their paths have never crossed. This match doesn't need a huge amount of build. They are arguably the two best technical wrestlers in the world, some would argue of all time. The entire story of this match is just two men who want to fight, trying to prove that they are the best. It would be foolish of me to fancy book any spots, because these two would do things that I couldn't even imagine. I've added a number one contender stipulation to the match, with the winner being able to wrestle for either the AEW World Championship or the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And for that reason, I've got Bryan Danielson winning so that he can go on to face Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP Championship. Where that match takes place, I don't exactly know, but it would be a great way to get to Danielson vs Okada, another dream match from the American Dragon.
Is that okay with you? Or is this not okay with me?
Just look at this match graphic and tell me it wouldn't be the funniest match of the year. Combining the comedic styles of Toru Yano and Orange Cassidy, a partnership fans have fantasy booked since AEW's inception. Mix that in with Danhausen and Best Friends and you have a litany of hilarious possible spots. But then, put them up against the physical charisma of Tetsuya Naito and Hiromu Takahashi, that's a recipe for success. Sanada can do his weird Paradise Lock spot, that always opens the door for something funny, and Bushi will be there also. And then Shingo Takagi, who doesn't get tagged in during the entire match, can come in at the end and absolutely murder everyone with no care in the world for all the silly nonsense. Let Takagi clear house and pick up the win. I know that people will say that some members of LIJ are wasted in a 10-man tag on a show like this, but those rosters are both stacked and full of amazing talent. Not everyone can be in the main event. Plus, multi-man tags are the staple of New Japan. It would simply be unrealistic not to do one, and this is surely the best possible outcome. The arrival of Jay White in AEW a few weeks ago reminded me of one of my ultimate dream matches in all of wrestling. Arguably the best babyface in the world today, Adam Page, taking on arguably the best heel, Jay White. Whether you agree that they're the best or not, anyone who has watched a lot of these two surely acknowledges the supreme talents that they possess. And a match between them, with history to build off, would be phenomenal. Jay White has already got a record in AEW after defeating Trent Beretta, and over the coming months, Jay can keep having these attraction matches, slowly building his record, until suddenly he is number one contender. This match screams big fight feel to me. Both men are so good at raising the tension, and the moment they lock eyes in the ring, I know I would be hooked. For me, it's the number one dream match for Hangman right now. I'm sure that some of the Stardom fans watching this video would have been surprised when I didn't include Mayu Iwatani in the earlier match. Well, that's because I've got her challenging Thunder Rosa for the AEW Women's World Championship. This is, of course, assuming Rosa beats Baker at Revolution this weekend. I'm not exactly sure how this match will come about as I'm not too clued up on the Stardom schedule, but I'm sure they will find a way to set up and build this match in their own unique way. As I say, I don't watch Stardom, but I have seen bits of Mayu Iwatani, enough to know that she would bring an excellent match out of Thunder Rosa. If you really want to showcase Stardom to an American audience, this may be the match to do it. Many people believe that the Young Bucks vs Golden Lovers match at Strong Style Evolved is the greatest tag team match of all time. It's a true classic, and many people might argue that it should just be left alone. However, I really believe that if AEW and New Japan are to properly work together on a super show like this, then Kenny and Kota have to come back together. Since they parted ways with Kenny going to AEW, they have followed similar paths in their careers. They both formed successful tag teams which they both threatened to break apart, seeing their respective tag team partners as not quite good enough. Kenny and Kota both teased turning heel. However, it was Kenny who actually went through with it, won a tournament and then became world champion. Ibushi didn't turn, but he still managed to win a tournament and become a world champion around the same time. They both pushed their bodies so hard and worked themselves into injuries. They also both hoped to be back by around February, but had setbacks. So I'm not sure if they'll be fit and ready by the time I have outlined this show to happen, but there is a suggestion that they could be. I'm also not saying that this was all a planned out storyline, but the Golden Lovers story is not so much a worked wrestling story, it's more a real life story that has been partially told within the wrestling world. The story feels like fate, and it feels like fate that Kenny and Kota, who have had such similar runs since they parted ways, are destined to reunite. And I do think that needs to happen before they do anything else involving each other. The match people really want is Kenny Omega versus Kota Ibushi, but that needs more of a build, and I feel like this reunion could be part of the story to get to that match. Taking on and losing to the Young Bucks in their reunion match would have a huge impact on both Kota and Kenny. The repercussions of this match would be massive, and the match itself would be awesome. And finally, your main event, Jon Moxley vs Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. The ace of AEW against the new ace of New Japan. This match is an absolute must for the first AEW and New Japan Super-Show. Ever since Mox first arrived in Japan, fans have been fantasy booking different opponents for him, many of which have actually happened. Ishii, Suzuki, Takagi, Naito, but never Okada. Mox has teamed with Okada, and it's clear there's a huge level of respect between them, but with Okada holding the top title in New Japan, Mox may see this as the perfect time for him to challenge for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. This certainly wouldn't be the longest Okada match ever, but it might be one of the most interesting and biggest in a good while. It's been a few years since Okada felt like that box office attraction he was from 2016 to 2018. Moxley could help bring back some of that energy to the Rainmaker. Of course Okada would retain his championship, but what an incredible match it would be. The perfect cherry on the cake for the first ever AEW and New Japan Super Show. There's so many other possibilities, so let me know in the comments which matches you would most like to see. Darby Allin vs Hiromu Takahashi? Sting vs Hiroshi Tanahashi? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more AEW related content. Cheers mate!